Creation Genesis, the seventh day. Chronicle entry, secret Annex, recorded by Brother Wyn of Caermynach, Anno Domini 918. Known as the seventh day, Seithfed Dydd. State of events, the seventh day of creation. Status, preserved with caution, concerns the first open division among the ancient ones. God rested on the seventh day, and the world held to the order already given. Land and sea did not press beyond their bounds. The lights continued in their courses. The vineyard stood as it had been set, and for a time that was enough. The ancient ones did not return to their charge. Tools lay where they had been left, and paths, once kept clear, were left to stand as they were. The small routines that had carried the long labour forward did not resume, and the quiet of the day did nothing to settle what had been unsettled at the close of the sixth. Beyond the vineyard, Eden lay whole and distant, seen and set apart. Eyes went there, and lingered longer than habit would have allowed. The Council. Where the fabric of the world thinned, they gathered, stepping into a space reached without passage. With the weight of the mountains still upon them, Titans arrived and settled in their mass. Jotnar followed more slowly, their care taken against what lay beneath them. Dragons came last, landing unevenly and never fully holding their places. At the centre of that motion, Brenin Fawr held, unmoved. Near him remained Caermynach, his attention fixed. Ascar held with his wings drawn tighter than before, his attention passing between the two. The space between them did not close. When Brenin spoke, attention was already with him. The labour behind them entered the space through his words. Land drawn up from the deep, waters guided to their bounds, the long placing of lights across the dark. The sound of it settled and did not leave. Only then did Eden find its place in what was said. It stood as a standard laid against their work. The vineyard had been placed into their keeping, but what lay beyond it had not been named as theirs. Brenin spoke as though the matter now lay open before them. Those nearest did not move. The ground answered a single adjustment. After the pause, Caermynach came forward with softer strides. His voice carried without effort or appeal. The vineyard, he said, had been given into their hands for work. Possession had never been named, and Eden had not been given. Its true purpose remained unspoken. The quiet that followed lasted long enough for breath to be drawn and then restrained. Brenin Fawr did not look away. His voice did not rise or press. Waiting, he said, has its place. This was not it. For caution, once praised, grows accustomed to defending itself against wisdom. No invitation to reply was offered directly. The words were left where they had fallen. Ascar grasped the space that was left open, and heads turned without signal. Labour, he said, had been given without regard. The shaping of the world had been delivered in good faith, only to find inheritance spoken of elsewhere. Eden had marked that difference. A movement passed through the nearest dragons. Iapetus asked what would follow if God answered them in kind, and Kronos did not wait for the question to settle. When the hand that gives orders is not seen, he said, others reach for what lies ready. What has been shaped does not remain open for long. The valleys of the vineyard will not stand empty while God withheld his answer. If God would not show himself among them, the Titans would take what lay unattended. The Jotnar remained set. Mimir's hands tightened on his staff and eased again. No word came from him. Brenin allowed the pause to lengthen before speaking. If God opposed them, he said, then he would be answered. And if Eden stood at the root of what had been withheld, then it must be cut. The circle around him tightened. Caermynach spoke again, his voice lowered. Strength raised against God, he said, may not come to rest where it was aimed. Eden was not a thing to strike safely. Nothing answered. Brenin turned from Caermynach. God's word, he said, would be heard directly. Their course would not be set by fragments carried across distance. No vow would be spoken aloud, and the tools remain unattended. The ancient ones left in ones and twos, and the circle thinned until it no longer held. Final entry. They returned from their council as the light began to shift. The vineyard lay whole beneath its sky. For a short while it answered as it had an hour before. Then steps slowed without instruction, the ear pressed back where it had yielded, and the distance took on a weight it had not carried the day before. At the first breaking of the 8th day, the horizon changed its shape. Where far light had stood unbroken, 3 vast forms now occupied the bounds, one set to each reach. They held their places without motion, and the open distances no longer passed cleanly around them. Only then did the quiet of the 7th day take its full measure.